Okay.
Can we go?
I think we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Bryce Romney. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm here to present my capstone project that I've been working on for the past semester, and one that actually goes a lot deeper than that as well. The project is UI focal point communications. Overall, is the best way that I could describe it. To get started, I kind of want to introduce what focal point is by showing a quick YouTube video. Although this is not part of my capstone, this is another project that I was involved with this semester. And it gives a brief history.
The thing that's most exciting to me about Focal Point today is that it has essentially the same effect on the audiences as we did at the very beginning. I mean, the singing is better and the performances are way more entertaining than they used to be, but the effect is the same. People are happy, it's a joyful experience, and they all walk out and are happy to have something positive happen to them and they can talk about it afterwards. That's one of the most exciting things. Focal Point serves a greater purpose than just entertainment. Its purpose is to uplift and inspire, to enlighten the hearts and the minds of the people within the sound of our voice, to the filling of their souls with joy.
I've always expected great things from Focal Point. The energy that is spent by the directors, by the guys in the group, the sky's the limit.
I think that the legacy that BYU Focal Point brings is not just what they bring musically to the stage, but the impact they have on everyone's hearts.
We have a huge responsibility to build on the legacy that the former Focal Point members have left. And every year, it is amazing to see each and every member step up to the task and create a brand new, innovative, amazing Focal Point experience.
We're excited about what Focal Point's been able to accomplish. And the temptation might be to say, isn't that awesome? Yeah, it is awesome. But the reality is there's so much more to do. We can see some of it, and some of it we can't. And we are just getting started.
Okay. At the end, you'll see this is part of our new initiative that we have to raise money for scholarships. I've been in Focal Point for 3 years.
Hey, Bryce, real quick, would you flip those lights so that the border ones are off and the main ones are on? Perfect.
Oh, cool.
It's a good sign too.
Yeah. Like I said, I've been in the group for 3.5 years. I joined the group the semester before I started the junior board, and it was really fun. I thought my grades would suffer, and not gonna lie, they certainly have. Been a little bit worse because of my involvement in the group, but I thought what perfect marriage of what I've been learning and what I'm passionate about, than to make my capstone about local point. So I looked at the different ways that the group was progressing, gaining a bunch of popularity, but still struggling quite a bit with trying to move and scale in order to meet that the popularity. We're 9 guys, 1 director, and Focal Point is a unique group on campus because we're the only group that's completely self-funded. We don't receive any funds from the university at all. Our faculty director is also paid for by money that the group makes. And so anything that the group has been able to come up with, especially in the past, it's depended on the alumni. Our previous website was built by a member of the group. But that was back in 2006. It had been updated in some sort of format in 2009, but it was pretty bad. And on top of that, because we want to do so much, and we realized that the only resources that we have are the same ones that we've always had, which is the members of the group. So we decided that we wanted to get alumni involved, and we didn't really know what that looked like. But we decided to try and get them involved in whatever way we could. And I'll kind of go over how we did that. So the main technical aspect of my capstone project was the website. And this is the work breakdown structure that a summary of the work breakdown structure I presented at the beginning of the semester. And it was supposed to go like this: plan for 2 weeks. So every single week, this actually did happen. Every single week, I would meet with the marketing committee for Vocal Point to go over the website and how it was coming, what they liked and didn't like about it. I figured since it's a WordPress website and I'm using a template, it'd be pretty straightforward. So building it would only take, I gave myself 4 weeks, 50 hours or so to build the website. Refining it for a few weeks after that, using market research. I wanted to create surveys and send them out and figure out what was good and what wasn't about the website. Lastly, include some finishing touches. Honestly, this was more of a buffer space in case things go over. I learned enough through the program to know that typically things don't follow the schedule that you want, especially when it involves programming, even as simple as WordPress. And then the last week was sustainability, figuring out exactly how I wanted how to keep the issue of the website falling and becoming, nobody's taking care of it, nobody's updating it, becoming obsolete. I'm going to figure out a real solid way to actually make sure that somebody takes over after it. The actual breakdown, however, was very different. I did plan for 2 weeks, looked at the template, figured everything out that I wanted to do there. But building the site took so long. It was incredibly frustrating. When I first presented this as a capstone project, I thought that building the website wouldn't be the hardest part. I kind of tried to include other parts to make it seem like the capstone is definitely substantial enough to qualify as a capstone. I think in a lot of people's minds, a WordPress website building template doesn't qualify as that. However, because of those weekly iterations that I was doing with, I guess you could call them stakeholders or the people that had a vision for what they wanted the website to be, helped quite a bit. So I put 1 week for refining the website. It honestly was ongoing. It was wonderful. I can't imagine having built a website and then taking it to them and then have them pick it apart after that. It was a blessing to meet weekly and to show them my progress. I did not have any time to do market research. I would take my website to different people that were not involved in Vocal Point, and ask them what they thought about it. That was as close as I could get. But I simply ran out of time. And then finishing touches is what I've been doing the past couple of days. The second aspect of my project, I mentioned wanting to take advantage of more resources. The group needs more. We need more money. We need more people to get involved and help us out. And I looked around and I heard some different tools, and the one that we came up with that felt worked the best was Slack. Previously, we were using GroupMe and emails, and that was fine. But we realized that the only way to get the alumni involved is to get them actively talking, not just sending one-off emails. This was a unique year, and that was the 25th anniversary, which was really cool for us. But we had all the alumni come back a few weeks ago and participate in one big concert. While they were there, we announced our plans with Slack and how we wanted to get them involved. I pulled this up just because of some different channels that were inspired by the alumni and what they participated in. So the Everyone channel, brand management is based off of a committee that we ended up forming. I met with some of the alumni and I asked them how I could help. I was making this website and I was kind of organizing, trying to organize everyone into a team that could work together efficiently. And I divided into committees: a fundraising committee, a brand management committee, a marketing coordination committee. So these are all channels that we currently use with our alumni. We are launching a video in a couple of days that was a 25-year mashup, 25 songs, and all the alumni involved. So it's going to be super fun, and we've been using Slack primarily to coordinate that. And this is the first time we've ever had the alumni's help, beyond them perhaps seeing that we shared it on Facebook and sharing it themselves. We've got a lot of people who've been contacting media outlets. People volunteer to write press releases, and people are fundraising to get endowment set up so we can make more videos like this in the future. So this has been a wonderful tool. However, it has been very difficult to get the alumni on board. It's hard to convince them that this would be a useful tool when they already have email, they have texting, and they already have a Facebook group that they can post something on and most people will see it. I did training. I also, beyond the alumni, I also went and talked to our BYU music group, which is our record label. They occasionally travel with us. They sell our merchandise and they manage our online store. And Performing Arts Management, who does all of our booking and our travel and travel plans and everything like that. So I would talk to them and I asked to be able to train some of their employees as well and add them to our Slack team. That way when we travel, when we need merchandise, we have it all in this one place, which is what they're primarily involved in the tech one and the Everyone channel. I went out and trained them. I created an email that kind of explains all the alumni exactly how to use Slack and what we're envisioning for it. Even with me training these people, it didn't guarantee buy-in. It didn't guarantee that they were actually going to use Slack. Many of them saw what was happening, but didn't really feel very involved, and so that was definitely a learning experience to try and get them to get on board with this new way of communicating. It's gotten better, and we don't have all the alumni on yet, but as time progresses and as we continue to refine exactly how we approach coordinating with the alumni, I think everyone will see the value of it. It just takes a while. Okay, so here's a screenshot of the website, and I just show you that homepage so that I can show you essentially what it looks like on the mobile as well, cell phone and a tablet. That's a giant cell phone, by the way. So here's the website, and just to kind of walk you through a little of it, it's not super fancy. I'm wearing, it follows the theme of this royal blue and black and white. It's like my slideshow, just like what I'm wearing. Our branding is very strong. So we've got a history page. In talking to the alumni during our reunion, I coordinated with them. We want to create perhaps a subdomain or just a portal in which we can archive, not only archive and create kind of repository for all of our old content, but they want some way to feel like they're involved and some way to feel like they're still a part of Focal Point. And so perhaps creating alumni pages and histories of the groups and allowing them to all collaborate and creating pages that describe the groups their year when they were in Focal Point. We've got our music tab. I showed this in my earlier presentation halfway through the semester, but you know, you can click on these albums and listen to a 45-second preview of any of our songs. This is a Christmas song. So. Anyway.
And
Sure.
during that presentation, I think you were in the process of integrating maybe with Stripe or selling.
Yeah, I can talk
Where
about
did you go with that?
So I spent a good couple of hours trying to integrate WooCommerce. And beyond the BYU, the issues that BYU has with apparently being some sort of tax exempt, having a tax exempt status, we have to go through BYU anyway. And in talking to Ben Fields, who manages our merchandise in our online store, he preferred not to segment our online merchandise presence in that way.
Mm-hmm.
It proved to be somewhat difficult and would have taken a good chunk of time to set it up on this website. I just didn't have time.
And so you're linking over to those stores so they can buy.
Yeah,
from,
so if you
from there
want to purchase music, primarily what's for sale is music. We also have t-shirts and hats and sheet music as well. But yes, these are the links that we have that will take you to the BYU Music Store.
Cool.
So that's specific album. A big challenge that I have is with plugins. Plugins interfering. There's a plugin that I ended up using for our shows, and I don't necessarily love how it looks. I think it's a little bit plain, but it was the best option. We've got our videos, and we've got, let's see, second, as well as booking. I've got a form up for this email list where you can sign up, put your email in. Got auditions coming up, actually today, start our auditions, in which we've also changed and gone online there. We use signupgenius.com, which is the first time we've ever done it online. Anyway, that's kind of an overview of the website and what we put together. I'm really excited about it though because everything that I've used is supported. It's supported plugins, supported theme. I had to go in and make some modifications with CSS, but it was very minimal, and I hope that in the future, as the theme is updated by the creators of the theme, that it doesn't break anything. And that was key for me in order to keep our website updated and allow somebody, because it's maintained by somebody in the group. I can't guarantee that it's always going to be an IS or IT or somebody technically oriented that manages this website. So, I kind of have been talking a little bit about what I learned this project. Overall, it's taken me about 160 hours so far, and I'm not done yet. I still plan on doing some more work. I'll just start with the first one. When it comes to tech, nothing goes exactly according to schedule. So it took forever for me to find who owns the domain BYUFocalPoint.com. It was one of the alumni who had set it up a while ago and completely forgot that they owned it for like 5 years. Took a long time. As soon as I found out what it was, I requested to ownership of the domain, and it took so long, and I barely received ownership of the domain 2 days ago. So up until that point, it was the old website, and I was just developing it on the temporary domain that GoDaddy gave me. And then on top of that, like I said, it doesn't go according to schedule. There was a time when I tried to reset a bunch of the settings because I couldn't figure out the dang menu. And I totally busted my menu, and I went back to my old version and realized that I'd broken that as well. I talked a little about change management, how difficult that was to get people on board with a tool that I feel is simple and is very useful. It was a challenge getting them momentum going, but I think we got some. Training doesn't guarantee buy-in investment or that they invest in use it. Hire a web designer if you really want a pretty site. I don't think our site's necessarily pretty. I think it looks okay. But I actually went and talked to a web designer a few weeks into the project. As soon as I realized how hard it was really going to be, how technically minded how much I struggled with a lot of technical stuff in programming. And he quoted $3,000, presented an actual proposal and a quick mock-up of what he thought the website would be. Like I said, since we're self-funded and because I didn't know how else to modify the capstone, I really did want to learn how to set up this site. We decided to reject it. We hired him though, I think the site would look really good. GoDaddy customer service is wonderful. Took me about 6 hours after I set everything up on desktop and thought it looked great. I went onto mobile and realized that a lot of things were not displaying. So then I had to go in and change a lot of that. Feedback as you go. Don't wait until the presentable version. Honestly, I feel like I could do the same thing in about half the time now. Researching plugins and figuring out how to customize templates and exactly how to work PHP because I'd never programmed in PHP before. How CSS interacts with that. I think I could probably do the same website in about half the time. But I was grateful to have people telling me as I went what I should do. Templates are good and bad. Great because they're already set up. Bad, you can't really customize them very much. Following up and accountability, improved performance. One of the ways that we are, sorry, I heard the timer range.
Yeah, so we have about 4 minutes total left.
Okay. Accountability, improved performance. So I talked to our director, and I really do want the website to be, to not, go unupdated and become what the old website was. And so he's actually going to make participation in the group and staying in the group contingent upon a list of requirements. And one of those requirements is will be being involved with the website. This is a brand new thing. He's never done anything like that. We actually have a scorecard. There's a bunch of other things that go along with it, but I think it's really going to do a lot. It's how people feel motivated. We don't get paid, and it's purely volunteer, and so that's why I feel like we have accountability involved in that. I realize that my hunch is right. I don't want to do tech-heavy stuff in the future. I'm in the IS program, but I've kind of created what I think is my own unique approach to it. And that I'm trying to go into marketing and use a lot of these tech skills that I have. And to be clear, I did use quite a bit of, I guess not quite a bit, but some programming skills and some managing change in tech environments and things like that. And that was wonderful, and I want to continue to do that. But at the heart of it, it was tough. It was tough to get stuff to do what I wanted it to do. We're excited to have the alumni on board. We have united resources and efforts. And I won't cover the other stuff, but it was a wonderful learning experience. I felt really confident in that it's something that I really want to do in the future, or things similar to building this website. It was working with people, it was figuring out what they wanted and what tech I had and could work with that would fulfill their needs. And then going back and forth and making sure that they're happy with the product. So that's essentially my capstone project. Thank you all for being here. Do you have any questions for me?
I have one or two.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about the transition plan. I understand someone's going to be assigned to kind of manage the website, but have you laid out kind of instructions, passwords? What about this domain name? How do you make sure that doesn't happen again? Do you have it associated with, some generic account for the club? Can you talk a little bit about transition?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. We have the domain and then our services with GoDaddy set up on a renewable account that won't expire, at least until UA decides that it does. As far as managing the website, we'll now have 2 alumni that are constantly in charge of the website, along with 1 person in the current group. Who that ends up being will change every year. But those 2 alumni, which will be me and Jeremiah Jackson is his name. Through the use of Slack and our personal experience, we'll team up with that crew member and manage the website. We realize it's not good to have complete turnover every year when managing things like this. As far as training, I would just sit down and show the next person what they need to do. I don't have documentation written out yet, but I considered it.
Yeah, I'd strongly suggest, even if it's just like a page of here's the basics, and it'll go a long way. And then, as long as that doesn't become stagnant, that it becomes a living document where folks update it, and part of the responsibility of said person is to come in and adjust that documentation, make sure it's up to date, make sure, the plugins are understanding whatever core fundamentals. I'm not saying like 1,000 pages, 1 page that, orients people where to go and where to start.
Yeah, okay.
Good. Other questions or comments? All right, thanks, Bryce.
Hey.
Even though you might not do tech long term, I'm strongly convinced that tech's going to play a role and give you an advantage in your marketing and other things.
That's how I got my internship last summer.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
I'll bring this to you.
Okay.
I was
Thank
going to
you.
stay longer, but I got in this morning and my computer's crashed. I can't get it to turn on.
Bless your soul. All right, sounds good. Thanks,
I gotta
Marshall.
get them to see if I can get the-
Okay, thank you. Hey, come on in. Come on in. Come on in, come on down. Hello.
Go, Bryce.
Hello, welcome.
So I was like, how am I going to pull 20 minutes off?
Gone.
I was like, hey.
So, gentlemen, you'll have about 20 minutes to present, 5 minutes for question. Kyle, Carson. 20 minutes to present, 5 minutes for questions. And we're live streaming.
Mornings or?
I'll set my timer for 20 minutes. So that time we have about 5 minutes to transition questions, wrap it up and stuff. YouTube, the MISM Capstone channel. Right now, 0 viewers, but
I was gonna say, dang, I would have just stayed home.
it's mostly for the archiving of it. Yeah. It's, usually we get a couple viewers though. It picks up in the later hours of the day. Yeah. It was, oh no, it was on Island. I sent it out, so. And I guess on the Slack channel, but I did post it in the 2nd year MISM Slack channel, so you may not have received that. You're not on Slack?
I'm on it.
Oh.
I just organize this all the time.
Yes.
I don't.
Little HDMI. I have an adapter. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good.
Ready, They are we good?
This is good. Yeah, as far as capturing here too, it's the best.
Great. So have you ever been highly skilled at something and you wanted to provide that skill to other people, right? Maybe make some money while you're at it. Well, if you have that desire and you don't have a lot of money, it's a challenge, right? You need to build a website, you want to provide that to other people and market that. And that's why we developed Schedule Me, an iOS app that allows people just like us, service providers, the ability to post their services to other people, and they can come and find those and purchase those.
So just to kind of restate what Carson said, the problem statement right here talks about how currently there's no user-friendly type app on the market that allows people to find and potentially list services in their local area. There are a few competitors, but they're kind of larger scale, web-based, and very, very professional, like roofing your house. But we're talking along the lines, and you can see this: computer photographers, hairdressers, music, voice lessons, a couple different things there. And something that's very important is think about maybe a student at BYU. Maybe they're an incredible piano player, and because they're here at school and they're not at home, they don't have access or have their own piano. But they definitely can offer the community piano lessons. So they're a service provider that's willing to commute to houses, be able to make some money during college and provide those lessons to others. Whereas you could have a lady that lives maybe up in Provo Foothills that's plenty good at piano as well, but she'll teach lessons at her home. So a couple of different options and what we looked at there. So.
All right, so we want to walk you guys through a little bit of a story, right, and how Schedule Me can help anyone, right? So let's take Peter Samarin, for example. He is a Vasa fitness trainer, but he's kind of upset because Vasa is taking all the profits and they don't have the best structure for paying their trainers, right? And so he wants to branch out and do it on his own. But Peter, like many of us, is a student and doesn't have a ton of money and can't really afford to build an amazing website and then start marketing that website. Even at that, if he does all of that, he doesn't know if he's going to get clients, right? And so Peter, he needs a cheap alternative to finding clients, and he trains here in North Utah and is willing to go a little ways to help people hit their fitness goals.
So now we have Steve Rogers, and I hope you can see that picture. Pretty Captain America. So Steve's also in Northern Utah, and he's looking to bulk up, I guess. And he wants to find a long-term trainer without necessarily being tied to a gym. He wants kind of a relationship, somebody he can work with. He also has a very strong drive to hit his goals. So he's searching for potentially somebody that he can work with. So with that story, we're going to carry further into a demo. Go bigger. Take the window up a size. It's weird because on the projector.
Yeah, resolution.
That's big as we'll get. So,
Yeah, it's a little, we're just showing one.
it's being cut off just a tiny bit.
Okay, that's good. You all can see that.
Mhm.
Right?
Yep, looks great.
All right, so I'm going to play the role of Peter, right? So I come to schedule me, download the iOS app, come in here and click on sign up, right? Put in your email, so Peter at email.com. And then a super secure password. And sign up. Okay, which brings us to this screen, right? It's kind of hard to see because of the light, but it says find a service or provide a service, right? So you can go the two directions. If you're just a client and want to find it, then you can go there. But we want to provide a service. All right, so we come here. Obviously, the first thing we want to do is put in a picture because no one trusts anyone. So let's go here, camera roll, and put in here. All right. And so initially, I thought was we don't want to require a lot of initial input for someone to sign up. And so if they want to provide a service, we'll ask for that later. And that's why we're asking for it. So Peter.
So you can make a user profile whatever without needing a picture. Just creates an email.
All right, we'll update it here. And as you can see on the lower half of the screen, this is an area where you can create services. So we're going to come here, create a new service. Like I said, pictures are the only way to be successful. And grab this picture right here, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the title. So let's do 30-minute training session. And type personal training. Email.
We've allowed a separate email there just due to the fact that you might have maybe a business email or something different than your personal. So this is the email associated with the service.
All right. And let's keep filling this out here. We've had some unique experiences with the black launcher geolocator when you don't put a real address in.
Oh, interesting.
And we
End
added
up in the middle.
this piece right here for service providers who will commute, right? I mean, personal training, you could go to someone's house and train them. Piano lessons, you can go to someone's house. And so we want to say, hey, I'll commute about 60 miles. Right? Then put in the description here. Wanted to use weight, welcome, or just getting better. All right, so we're going to add this service here. Great, and as you can see, the service is right here on our service list. So if Peter wanted to add a 60-minute training session, he could easily do that by clicking the plus button and adding another service there. Or if he's unsatisfied with it, he can come here and do the service. But I want to edit this really quick. So 30-minute training sessions, let's just do 30-minute training session. Great, so it's all up to date. And Peter's good to go. So he just needs clients to come and find him here on this list of services. Perfect. Step into the shoes of Steve. Steve's project. Kevin. Not Steve, but not yet.
Okay. So now playing the role of Steve, I want to go in and potentially find Peter, correct? So I'm going to find a service, and I don't have a profile pic, so I'm going to go take care of that real quick. So now I'm in there, and I have the ability to search, find whatever I want to do, and we have built in a service discovery engine here that will allow you to, you can see there's wakeboarding on the top there. If I start typing wake, it'll come up. I can search, say, the city. So if I'm looking for Orem, it'll filter by city. So there's a lot of different options you can use on that search bar to kind of filter down to what you're looking for. So obviously he's looking for something along the lines of training. So I come up with TR. We've got two different options there. So he sees this one right here. He maybe takes a look at both. Looks into that one. Looks into this one. And he recognizes. He's found this service in the maps. There we go. Okay. It's just because it's a simulator, the location has to be in GPS here. So he's found this here. And the address is located there, and he has the ability to contact Peter in any way he would like to, whether you'd like to call him, send him an email. And then right here on the map, he has the ability to click the pin. And then right now, as you can see, we're located at the Marriott School. He's got directions up to the location of the service. So we'll head back. You can use that for directions when he's ready. And that's how you can come in contact with Peter and start his training sessions.
So heading back now to our slides. So as we can tell, both of them fulfill the need, right? Steve Rogers, he needed some training. And Peter was trying to find clients that he can train with. And so they both had great results. Peter, he got some money. And as we know for Steve Rogers, he got pretty good
Results.
and he turned into captain. So, and we use this example because it's kind of funny and it's kind of fun, right? But realistically, this is for anyone and everyone, right? I mean, we can, like we said earlier, we saw someone post earlier this week, hey, my friend's looking for piano lessons. Do you know of anyone, right? And I mean, that's like the perfect use case for scheduling. People like that who are trying to find service providers near them, and they want to find someone who's good.
So now to just touch base kind of on the backstory of how we arrived at this app and all that we had done. We just want to thank real quick, shout out to Clay Ellis, who's in the top corner. He was our mentor. He owns an app creation company, is probably a good definition. And so we went to him a lot along the way to prevent ourselves from having to backtrack and to be able to essentially do this as quick as possible because time was essential. So just some things that we learned, and maybe I'll just get the biggest ones. We've got
plenty.
We've got plenty.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'll hit on a few of them. So as I go through them, old versus new best practices, we noticed that I'm sure you guys are aware in apps like that everyone knows what the hamburger menu is. So we realized as we were developing that Apple really doesn't like that anymore. They don't like you sticking everything up at a menu. They definitely want buttons that navigate to places. And so it's a lot more simple and a lot more clean. We had a hamburger menu button on our original designs, and then we realized that's not really the way to go. And that's talking to Clay, that's kind of the direction Apple's pushing folks. And so we had to redesign our UI in order to accommodate those types of changes. Merge conflicts and get repository go together. We definitely learned Git the hard way. I mean, we had never had any experience really with it, and especially working together. And then when you write on the same file and you have to deal with cleaning all that up, we learned Git repository extremely well. Xcode, obviously in Swift, Xcode's the IDE to help build iOS apps. Swift is the language that we were using. Logo selection, I put this on here just because Clay let us know in advance that it's very important to wait to the very end to design a logo. And this is due to the fact that if you do it up front, because a lot of people get excited about their logo and they want to do that, but then you get heavily constrained when you start to design because you want to match. You get very detail oriented on matching everything to the logo, and you spend a lot of time that you probably shouldn't because you're going to adjust it down the road. So logo selection comes at the very end. Udemy, we spent, and Dr. Missouri knows this, we spent a good 50 plus hours going through an iOS course, which was exciting at first, and then it got very long and turned into an enduring process. So I definitely recommend it, but maybe not the entire course, because we definitely used pieces of it, but it just gave us the confidence to begin rather than a reference point to go back to. We were doing a lot more lookups, Stack Overflow type lookups to figure out how to do things. So Parse and Firebase are next to each other. Parse is a backend service that used to be provided by Facebook. Literally like a week before we were ready to integrate the backend, Parse announced they were shutting down and no longer offered their services. So if you already had an account, you were already up and running, you have till the end of this year, and it's 2017 to cut off. We didn't have an account, we weren't running, so we couldn't even create one. So we started looking at other options, and there's a service called Heroku that I explored, and we ended up deploying a Parse server, because they essentially released their codes that you could just do it yourself. But the restriction on that is there was no GUI interface to be able to know what was going on with your data. And talking with Clay about it, he's like, well, if you're not familiar already and you don't understand how Parse all works, I would probably go with something else that you do have a UI so that you are a GUI that you can make sure that everything's going well. So we explored Firebase, which is a service that was bought out and provided by Google now, as our backend. And Firebase is probably the one thing, at least for me, because I did a lot of backend work, that I learned an immense amount, just how all the calls work, how it's important to work with JSON. We have JSON up on here somewhere. We had never been exposed to JSON before this because everything we had learned in Gov's class was relational. And so we definitely started learning JSON very quickly and reached out for some best practices there as well on how to structure the data to be able to query it, etc. So Firebase uses JSON, and it's very, very fast. It's live. If I pulled up the Firebase window on the internet, and as we're clicking in the app, things are just, I mean, it's parallel. It's very fast, very cool. Let's see what else. User testing, this is an important point. And we kind of talked before as we've hit progress reports on this. We actually spent the time as instruction provider mentor to reach out to a handful of folks and kind of give them a general high-level use cases of what we wanted to do. And we asked them, how would you do this? Without any knowledge, without showing buttons or anything, just draw what you would do on an iPhone or on an Android phone that you feel would be, most natural to you. And we got some good feedback there, and we were a little stubborn because we wanted it to go one way, but we learned that the users actually kind of interpreted that it would go a different way. You see a list as the main screen. We originally thought that we would have just a map, kind of like Airbnb, where you can see little icons popping up, but people said that because you're focusing on trying to find a certain service, it'd be a little confusing to like try to navigate a map to find things. So we definitely pivoted there. It was a good experience to have those user tests and kind of see that natural reaction to what someone would do. Ultimately, what's important there too, though, is you've got to make the call as developers, make the decision, and decide ultimately where you want to take the app. User auth, UX, geolocation, sketch. Okay, geolocation, as we mentioned before, it's important we have a lot of addresses going in there, and there's actually a library built in that will allow you to change everything to latitude, longitude coordinates. And that's how everything is done via distances, etc. And we calculate the distance, how far you are away from the service, which is important. And then finally, Sketch. This was a kind of a wireframing platform that we were introduced to, and it's fully capable to do complete design. So we started just kind of stubbing out wireframes, and then we started adding colors and getting more design like in there. You can put arrows and show direction, the way your segues are going to go. You can do a lot of different things in Sketch. So originally, after that user testing, we built the whole thing in Sketch. Then we started in code to begin building, which is I only recommend it because you don't want to get into the code and then start figuring out, oh, we didn't think of this, or oh, we didn't do this. And you can waste a lot of time talking about where something should go, whereas if you've already hammered that before, it's just a lot more.
All right, so future plans for scheduling. We've really enjoyed this process, and we're grateful for Dr. Serby pushing us a little bit. We came to him with a different idea, and he's like just pushing us to do something a little harder. This was definitely a challenge for us, given that we aren't the strongest developers and hadn't previously ever done any guidelines. But we've enjoyed it, and we see a lot of potential with this app, and some things we definitely would like to add. So the first is chat functionality, right? It's much more comforting as a client and a service provider if you don't have to give out your personal information, right? If you could chat and say, hey, I'm interested in your service that you're providing. Can we meet up, talk about it, or you can schedule an appointment, right? The next is, going into that, is scheduling. Right? We haven't seen anything out there with the ability to find a service and actually schedule with that service provider, and we feel like that is huge for scheduling in the future. Another thing is payments. It would be really cool if we could mediate a payment system between the two, because I don't know, millennials, we hate cash. At least I do. I hate my wallet being full. All I want is my card. That's it. If that, Apple Pay's great. My phone. And so we want to implement something that a system that we can mediate the payments between the two. And this could be a way for us to generate revenue as well if we take a percentage of that. But it would be still very easy for both sides.
And just on the bottom few points, social, we would love to be able to just add a link to your Facebook or your Instagram. Just have kind of like a media repository. We don't want to start storing everyone's photos because you've already got that somewhere, I'm sure. So just reach out to your Instagram. People can go there and see all your different pictures, videos. If it's, say you're a photographer, it's going to be important. We don't want to store all that, but there's a place where it already is. We'll just connect it in. Filters, you saw the ability to search, but right now we don't handle the ability to maybe do two things, like show me workouts in Salt Lake City. So we want to be able to essentially add filters where you can lock something in and then continue to search upon that. So lock in a city or lock in a certain service type and then still search from there. And then a rating system. We talked about this, and it's very important in regards to the user and in regards to the service, that there's a rating system built in so that people can rely on who it is they're reaching out to and keep people honest. And ultimately, kind of like the Amazon or the eBay, you won't be able to get rid of those ratings. So it's very important to do your best when you're working with clients and offering these services.
Scheduling. Do you guys have any questions?
Would you back up to the last slide? So how would you rank the priority of these future plans? Because two of the big things in my mind for an MVP, at least a reasonable MVP, are on this list. I'm just kind of curious how you would.
I would say that.
Okay, yeah.
Those are the three highest priorities.
I would agree with that. My personal view is ratings first, then schedule, then chat. Or chat, is easy enough functionality, integrate maybe with ratings also. The core, schedule me functionality, I think, is that schedule. Yeah. But I think there's real value in this first step of finding services in a relatively constrained location. So are your search results constrained by geolocation today, or are you just showing everything in the app right now?
So right now it's showing everything.
Yeah.
We've looked into, essentially what we have to do is with cache all the services, because we calculate the distance on the phone in the code.
I see.
So what you want to do is you have to do that, calculate them all, cache them all, sort them, and redisplay them. So we haven't gone down that road, but that was the next step.
Yeah, probably another group presented on geolocation, and they're using Parse, and said that Parse has some algorithms built in for doing that on the server side. I assume Firebase, if they don't, probably are moving that direction. And so
they do.
As you suck off the data, do your calculations there where you have a lot of processing power rather than on the client side after you have this huge data set.
I think that's probably what we do, is instead of calculating distance on the device, send that data back up to Firebase. Firebase can give you the results however you query them, and you can easily sort it. So
Yeah.
Just time constraints. So we're definitely doing that.
Great.
It's kind of funny that Peter is actually my brother-in-law. He works at the closet.
Oh, you know Peter? Peter's my really good friend.
Well, I meant like, he's not, I mean, Peter's, his name is Skyler, but I'm saying.
Oh, that's awesome.
Peter really is my friend.
Peter really is
I did your bio, and he's looking for something like this. Was this actually live download or is that?
Yeah, so, no, it's not live yet. We're still making
It's coming.
tweaks, but we really hope to launch it. And yeah, because Peter was a lot of the motivation for this app actually, because I know him really well and I know he's in that transition phase. He really doesn't like working at Vasa and he's just started doing things on his own, but he needs to build a website. So a lot of this really came from him and his need, and then other people who reached out to us and said, hey, this is
A question back, I guess, on that, maybe Dr. Zerkis can check, is just, we kind of feel that there's a couple more steps that need to be done before we go live. Do you feel like it's good enough to maybe push now, maybe work on that, then make a V2, or work on maybe ratings and scheduling, chat a little bit before we take it to the App Store?
I think you need ratings at least. Maybe because chats are relatively easy functionality. At least, just spin off a text message, SMS from there. That should be super simple. I would have those in there before you go, and the geolocation constraint. But I think you could go before the scheduling part. They can work that out on their own initially.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay, we're out of time. Thanks, gentlemen. Good job. All right, next up we have Brett Gnostic. Thanks so much for coming, folks. Appreciate it. Good job. Thanks, Clay. Appreciate you mentoring these folks. Thank you. So you'll have 20 minutes to present, 5 minutes for questions or so. I'll set my timer for the 20 minutes, and then they'll kind of know we need to start.
I do like 5 minutes talking.
Sure, no problem. You're welcome to start anytime.
Okay. So, obviously did Gnostic. I've been working on this since July of last year, actually. So things that I'm going to go over: backgrounds, technologies I use, business development that we went through, some of the business intelligence that we've actually done as well, and then plans for the future. So a little bit of background. A lot of you already kind of know this, but Gnostic has actually morphed quite a bit from inception in July until now. So now we're doing workers' comp, or risk management analytics. So essentially, in layman's terms, it's related to injuries and things like that. So if someone is on the job site, in fact, here at BYU, if you're working for BYU, workers' comp covers you. So if you happen to cut your finger or something like that, you're covered under workers' comp. So that's kind of the realm that we're dealing in, is more along those lines. So the goal of it is to help reduce the company's costs and their workers' comp. And then ultimately our end goal is to predict future accidents, which I think Skylar would be more interested in than the rest of it. Mr. Analytics. All right, so technologies that we're using, this actually morphed a little bit. We started out with, we were using React from the beginning. Main reason to use React was so that we could create components. If any of you have used React before, you can understand that. If not, if you're familiar with Angular, it's kind of along that line, but it's not the whole kitchen sink. It's one portion of it. It's the view part of it. So what that allows us to do is actually pull those components and put them into what's called React Native, so that we can easily and quickly create native iOS and Android apps, which is where we want to get to, so that when people go to do risk assessments and incident reports and things like that, which I'll show you that in a minute, it makes it a lot easier and a lot faster for them to do that. So we started out using Django Python. I was going to use the Django REST framework because that's what I knew. And partially that was a good choice, but as I looked into it more, I realized that that wasn't quite as good of a choice. Node has, in my opinion, a much better community, much larger community, and there's a billion different frameworks that you can connect into so that I don't have to code everything again and again and again and again. It's all ready to go, and I can just download it with NPM, which is a management tool for packaging. It makes it a lot easier. But Node by itself isn't a web framework. And so in order to get that aspect of it, I decided to use something called Loopback. Loopback is built off of the Express framework, but it's got a lot more to it. So one awesome thing about Loopback is you can actually create REST APIs essentially with a command line in like 5 minutes. So just to give you an idea, I started, like I said, I started doing this in Django, and just pure Django. And I started looking into the Django REST. Just to get the whole backend set up, everything connected to Postgres. I mean, we've all been through that. It's a pain in the butt. So I think I'd spent, what was it? Probably about 10 hours troubleshooting some issue that I was running into, like normal when you get Django. And got it all working, and then started doing the Django REST, and the documentation wasn't that hot in my opinion. There were things that just weren't working. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try Node. Everybody's talking about Node, I'm going to try Node. So I tried Loopback because it was using Express. Tons of people use Express, so I would be able to connect things that Express was using into Loopback. I got so by this time I hadn't even built the REST API. So this is 10 hours, no REST API, nothing. I started with Loopback, got it all set up. I generated REST APIs for every single model that I had, and it took me an hour. I was like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? This is much easier to use. So all you have to do is go and type the model, type all the fields that you want, hit enter, run node dot, which it just runs the node process, and it will create all the models for me. And along with that, I can specify if I wanted to create a REST API. Well, okay, I'm going to create a REST API because then I don't have to do it by hand. And so it just spins up, and then I have a REST API. So, do a quick demo. This is a form that I created. And it's actually been modified from the last time that I showed this form. So before it was you click next, 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 but there was no way to like quickly and easily go back. So now it's all accordion style. So you can go in, a person doing a risk assessment can walk to a different location and say, oh, we have an issue here with the floor. Well, now I can just go over here and find like housekeeping and easily check it, type in some information, close it back up, and go on to the next thing that I need to do. So it's a lot more dynamic and quick and easy to use. And then to show the other awesome thing you can get with Loopback is this web interface. So now I can click on an account, for example. It gives me a list of get, put, post, everything else. These are the dynamically generated REST APIs that it did for me. So now I can go in and look at it, and I can also hand this off to someone else if they need to connect to our backend. Say, here's how you do it. This is all the information that you need to get it to work. You can actually just copy and paste stuff. and get everything to work and post to the database. Obviously, that's not secure. You have to have OAuth and stuff like that, but you can do it. So to continue on with this one, for the styling and stuff, I decided to use Foundation because everybody and their dog uses Bootstrap, so I wanted to be different. I like being different. So I went with Foundation. Foundation also allows you to use a few components and not a bunch of components, which I really like. So if I only wanted to select a few things, I could actually download just those few things, which I haven't found in Bootstrap yet. Might be there, but I usually download the whole piece and see when I do Bootstrap. And then I also wanted to get more into SaaS, and the documentation I felt like was better for Foundation on how to connect in and do what they call mix-ins, so that I can create all of my styling quickly and easily. And then finally, looping back to React, another thing that I use, because like I said, React is just the view. It doesn't maintain state or anything else like that. You can maintain state in a way, but not in the same way that you would normally like to maintain state. And so I decided to use something called Redux, which is based off of an architecture built by Facebook called Flux. Redux is more of an implementation of it in code, which just makes it easier to get up and going. So learning Redux was a bit of a paradigm shift for me. Went from like, oh yeah, I can do objects and arrays, that's cake, got that now, to, okay, now I've got to create stateless immutable objects. Mutable. Okay, that's a different word that I haven't used for a while. And then it's also used as something else called reducers, which is another pattern that I was not familiar with at all. And so trying to wrap my head around how everything connected together and all these reducers and actions and everything else that were going on with it, that took a lot of time to kind of figure those things out. But in all of this, I've been able to learn a lot more about JavaScript, and especially ES6 type JavaScript, which you get like the fat arrow functions and everything else like that that didn't even existed in JavaScript before. So for me, it's been an awesome experience to kind of learn these things. Obviously, I haven't made as much progress as I would like to make because I had to spend so much time learning all these new things. I hadn't touched any of these frameworks or anything else before I started working on this project. I had done it a little bit last semester, at the end of the semester, but that was the extent of it. It was like in December or Christmas break. And so I've had to do a lot of learning and trying to figure out how I wanted to implement and actually design this thing in a way that I can easily add on to it later without having to go and recode and create everything. So that's what I spend a lot of time trying to do. So the business development portion of it. This time hasn't even been included in the time that I've actually worked on the capstone, but this has been an integral part of, I guess, the overall capstone and what we're trying to accomplish, more importantly, with the business. So we actually flew down to LA for 3 days, probably a month and a half ago, to meet with 7 companies and 2 advisors. So one of them isn't really an advisor, he's just very knowledgeable. He's been in the industry for, I think, 30 years, but he doesn't get the technology side of it, which is why he's not really our advisor, but we will talk to him to get information to figure out what's going on, laws and things like that that are happening. We got another advisor that gets all the technology things, gets the whole technology side. In fact, one of the companies he was at before that my co-founder worked with him at this company, he implemented a lot of processes and procedures in that company and saved them millions of dollars. And in fact, one of the guys that he trained went to a different staffing company, and in his first year, based like at this mentee, I guess you could say, went to the new company, implemented the same procedures that he had learned at the other company from this guy that is our advisor, saved that company $38 million in the first year, just by implementing risk management type best practices. So to give you an idea, there's a lot of people that say, oh yeah, we do risk management, but they don't they don't really do risk management. It's like, oh yeah, we have a risk manager, so therefore we do risk management. Not the case. There's a huge disconnect between risk managers, claims managers, safety managers, and executives. In fact, to give you an idea, if there's an injury, whose fault do you think it would be? Any guesses? So you think common sense is the company's. In reality, the executives put it on the risk manager. It's your fault. It's your fault that we had these issues. It's your fault, and the safety manager. It's your fault. But yet they don't give either of these parties any sort of sway over the people. So they have no right or no authority to go and say, you're going to get fired if you don't do these things. They can't do it. So it's like, well, how are we supposed to make any sort of change if I can't actually go and change anything? So that's another part of why we wanted to do this. And that's the reason why we flew down to LA, is to talk to more people, to get a better understanding of kind of this disconnect and everything, and to build up the pain, obviously, which we've used Griffin Hill in order to learn more sales methodology, because neither of us have really done sales. My best sales is a missionary mall, which is not too hard to sell close to people that are getting ready to go on. So that was the extent of my sales expertise. And so we've been working with Griffin Hill consultants that have been gracious with their time and doing pro bono work for us and helping us learn what we need to do, learn what we need to about sales. We're currently talking to 3 companies that are follow-ups from this trip to LA. So it's actually moving forward, but enterprise sales are extremely slow. It is what it is. Lastly, I didn't work on this a whole lot. I was in meetings. I went to meetings for these, but this is the business intelligence and machine learning. So we've actually been working with a BYU analytics team that's here in the Marriott School, and we've also been working with a machine learning team over in the Talmadge building in the CS department. And they've come up with some of these graphs and numbers. So I just wanted to show these as an example. Right here it says fall, and that's the total number of records. So what this is showing, it's doing a count based on how many people have died because of injuries. So this is all OSHA data. This is public OSHA data that we've collected and analyzed. The number one word that shows up in these incidents that OSHA is inspecting is fall. So people are falling and dying. Another one, work rules, so not following work rules, and then this one, which is kind of gory but crushed. And so these are some of the words that these OSHA inspectors are using in their reports. And now we can actually see a trend of what's going on and what words are being used, so that we can show our clients, these are the things that you need to be most worried about, or words that are showing up here are things that you should be training your employees on the most and haggling them on the most, so that they're always aware of it. And then over on this side, this is the dollar cost of an injury. So up at the top we have direct cost, and then to the right, indirect cost, and then the total amount. So for an amputation, for example, the total cost is $140,000. So I, as an employer, out of pocket, have to pay $140,000 for an amputation. Whether that something happens, they crush their hand and we have to amputate, or else it amputates their hand. $140,000. In order to recoup that money, I as a company have to make $4.674 million in sales revenue in order just to recoup $140,000. So a lot of companies aren't thinking about this part. Like I said, there's a huge disconnect in what they do and what needs to actually happen. And so in order to reduce these costs, they have to be aware of what's going on. They have to see, especially the executives, have to see in a dollar value, how much is this actually affecting me? Is the top, workers' comp is one of the top 3 killers of companies, especially in staffing. If you can't, it's sales, taxes, and workers' comp are your top biggest consumers of money. So workers' comp can literally destroy a company, and it's often things like this. They look at the direct cost. Okay, that would cost me $66,000. Okay, that's not too big of a deal. Well, are you taking in all of the indirect costs? Hiring new people, finding those people, training those people, and everything else that goes in the back end of it, to the point where you have to make $4.7 million in sales even to make up for that, just to hit break even. So this is some of the stuff that we're doing. We're continuing to do machine learning, more specifically on this part, so that we can show companies, especially executives, like I said, the dollar value, the cost to them in not taking action and not giving their risk managers and safety managers the information that they need.
I think that would be even more powerful if it were broken down by the industries you're targeting, so that you can say, within your industry, these are the types of claims that often are coming through.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we're going to try and cluster everything to see, where are those differences coming. We're also going to do benchmarking based on the industry that you're in. How are you doing in comparison to everybody else? That's something that we've heard time and time again is, I want to see benchmarking. How am I doing in comparison to everybody else? Because we're all competitive, especially executives and business, because you have to be competitive. It's just part of the nature of business. So then the future, what we're planning on doing, like I said, we were talking with 3 companies currently, all based in California. In fact, there is another graph that I had, but I decided that the other one that I showed is a little bit better. But California has the most incidents out of any other state. In fact, when we were down there,
Per capita, or?
It's more because of laws.
Okay.
So they're actually, the OSHA regulations differ from state to state. And in California, it's stricter than any other state. But there's also, everybody's sue happy in California. And so they'll just sue and sue and sue. And there's a lot of fraud as well. People going in and saying, oh, I'm injured. And they're really not injured. And then they'll collect on workers' comp. And it's, I believe, 2/3 of their salary that they get. So if you go to a couple different places and there's this disconnect, and I say I'm injured, then I say I'm injured again, now I've just effectively doubled my salary just because I'm injured. So 3 companies that we're talking to in California, we've done a demo and we're continuing to move up. And in one of the companies, we're actually scheduling a meeting to meet with their VP or director of risk management, who is the owner's son. So if we can get in with him, then we'll be golden. We're also looking to raise money. So we've applied for money, or yes, a convertible note with Campus Founders Fund. We still need to meet with them in order to raise. We're going to try and raise $20,000. So if we can raise $20,000, that gives me another month and a half runway so that I can work on Gnostic full time and actually make more progress than just having forms done, which would be fantastic, so that we can get this into the hands of the clients that we're talking to. And then also hired on additional developers to help me with this type of stuff. And so on that aspect, things that I've, takeaways that I've had from the IS program, I think I've used every class but maybe one in starting a business. It is amazing how many things you have to do when starting a business, especially a tech business, and the things that we've kind of learned in class. For example, state diagrams. I remember Dr. Anderson said, "Oh yeah, you'll always use state diagrams," and I'm like, "I'm not gonna use state diagrams. Those things are so lame. Like, it takes forever to build these things. Why don't I just build the stupid software?" And I've gotten to the point now where, as a consultant, what I do for my job, I have to do those all the time in order for India to be able to grasp what I want to see happen. They have to see what's going on. And so our goal with this is to do a very similar thing where we hand this off to someone else. I design out the system, hand it off and say, here you go build it. And that includes, and we've done user experience testing, I have to do that. Things like raising money, it wasn't part of the IS core, but it was part of my other studies that I had here at BYU, which is entrepreneurship focused. And all of those things, I think I've used at least something from every single class that I've had while I've been in IS core while starting this company. Analytics, and it's from the whole broad range of everything that we've done. Worried about security, Bryson's case. So yeah, it's been amazing how much I've learned and how much I've had to use And I feel like the IS score has actually been a fantastic base, and more importantly, the masters has been vitally important to making all this happen. Questions or?
I was just curious about the history, how you transferred it. What I thought originally was it was